Okay, great. So in my sermon, I talked about how there is a higher incarceration rate and a lower crime rate. And you're saying that that would seem to be a logical conclusion. So how do we, because probably more of our criminals are locked up, quote unquote, in jail, which will create a lower crime rate. Great question. So the research, again, says that the incarceration rate has continued to rise even during the times over the last 30 years where crime has gone up and gone down. So at this present moment, crime is at its lowest, but the incarceration rate is still continuing to climb. So some of what is being thought is that if it is indeed the case that we have an explosion of the prison population, but we still have crime happening overall very low, but still in pockets of our country that are, kind of holding, particularly crimes that are related to nonviolent drug offenses and these other kinds of things. How do we account and make sure that we are not just depending on prisons or incarceration to solve issues that are not necessarily related to violent crime? So part of what, again, is being talked about and compared, if you look at every other, quote unquote, industrialized nation in the country, the United States incarcerates more people than all of those countries combined. So we have the largest number of folks in prison in our country than most of the other industrialized nations in the world, and their crime rates are demonstrably lower than ours. Now, part of what we're learning and we're starting to appreciate more is, given the fiscal weight of incarceration in prisons and the loss of revenue and wages because folks are not contributing to our economies, that the pie, the revenue has shrunk, right, which makes it less possible to create more services and supports for the larger kind of populace in our country. So part of what, again, we want to appreciate is that crime, the largest, catalyst for crime is poverty, lack of opportunity, lack of access to health services, right? And if our limited resources are being spent to incarcerate folks and we can't, infuse our states and cities with better schools, better infrastructure that could lead to jobs, healthcare services that could actually allow more public health responses to some of these issues and not criminal responses, then we may continue to have a growing prison population while crime continues to go down, right? So we want to imagine that there's a way to have crime hold and drop down without having to have an explosion of a prison population.